Take a look at the weather. It has been raining a little bit off and on through the day. They say showers till about 9 o'clock, so that's less than a half hour away. 64 degrees at Heinz Field, and now it's really starting to come down as Chris Boswell gets set to kick off. Pittsburgh won the toss, and they have deferred. Niall Davis, one of the two guys back, and Tyreek Hill are the two guys back at the goal line, either capable of taking it all the way. And here we go with the kick into the end zone, and this is Niall Davis. He fakes the handoff, and Davis will take the ball out to the 23-yard line. And that's where the Chiefs will take over as we meet their offense.
Alex Smith, University of Utah.
Spencer Ware, LSU.
Anthony Sherman, UConn.
Jeremy Macklin, Mizzou.
Chris Conley, Georgia.
Travis Kelsey, Cleveland Heights, Ohio.
Eric Fisher, Central Michigan.
Zach Fulton, Tennessee.
Mitch Morse, Missouri.
Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, McGill University.
Mitchell Schwartz, Cal.
Mitchell Schwartz coming over from Cleveland to help solidify the offensive line. They start from the shotgun. The running back is Spencer Ware. They flare him out, and then Smith goes over the middle, and wide open is Jeremy Macklin, who takes it out to the 37, their top wide out. Mike Mitchell makes the tackle, gain of 15 and a first down.
Come right over across the field here, and one of the things that you're going to see out of Kansas City throughout the course of the night, they're not an offense that wants to hold the football. When Alex Smith is at his best, he's getting that ball out of his hand very quickly and moving it down the field.
Bunch of receivers to the right side. Reposition Ware in the backfield. He's a good receiver as well, and the pass is caught by Chris Conley. So they start with back-to-back first downs, and they have the ball at the Pittsburgh 46-yard line. Mitchell makes that tackle. So a gain of 15 to Macklin, and now 17 to Conley.
Yeah, and William Gay was on the outside, and they faked this quick screen and threw the slant right behind Gay. Gay's going to jump up there and play the guy that was on the quick screen, and then it was nothing but Chris Conley in behind him.
So now for the first time in almost a year, Jamal Charles comes into the game. Tore up his knee in October last year in a game against Chicago. Hasn't played since. Inactive the first 3 games this season. They flare him out, and they get it to him, or try to get it to him anyway, and it goes through his hands. It's incomplete. Second down and 10. But good to see Jamal Charles back in action. One of the very, very best is Alex Smith. In his 4th season now with Kansas City, came over, of course, after he had lost the job to Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco. And he fits Andy Reid's offense perfectly.
Yep.
Second and 10 now from the 46-yard line. Against the grain, he's going to go down. Cameron Hayward to the outside to get the sack, and it's only the 2nd sack of the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Try and sprint him out, but just cannot cut him off. Zach Fulton, one of 5 different guards the Kansas City Chiefs have played in this young season, and that time it was Hayward just too athletic. Hayward probably the best defensive player on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
10th sack allowed by Kansas City this season. So it's 3rd down and 15. They're back in their own territory at the 49-yard line. Play clock at 2. Flag is thrown. Looked like they may have jumped off. The Steelers may have jumped off. This could be a free play intended for Chris Conley. Ron Torbert is the referee tonight, and he will give us his first call.
Offside. Defense, number 97. 5-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
That was Hayward. So it was a free play. They can't cash in on it. 3rd down and 10.
Mitch Morse, the center. Let's watch him right in the middle here. Did not have the quick, jerky kind of movement, so absolutely legal and got a free play. The Chiefs not one to take many chances when it's 3rd and that long, but now that it's narrowed to 3rd and 10, be a little more aggressive.
See, they're 3rd and short. They're very good. 3rd and 4 or more, not very good. Smith rolling and throwing and just has to throw it away. So the Steelers, who came into the game with just that 1 sack in 3 games, put enough heat on Smith after he starts the game with a pair of back-to-back first downs, and in comes the punting group.
Sort of interesting. They did pretty well when they were in the pocket, and as they rolled left and rolled right, had issues. And speaking of issues, this guy's an issue.
He's an issue for any return unit to defend. Dustin Colquitt, whose father Craig has 2 Super Bowl rings as the Steeler punter back in the late 70s and early 80s. He gets this one away. And Brown will let it bounce at the 15-yard line. And it takes a nice Kansas City hop. And he down it at the 6. And that's where Ben and company will go to work in Pittsburgh. Back to Heinz Field, Le'Veon Bell, after the 3-game suspension, is in the backfield. They fake it to him, and Ben Roethlisberger is going to go way downfield on the first play. It's hauled in by Sammy Coates. And Sammy Coates was down as he went down. Marcus Peters, who has 4 interceptions this season, they go right to work on him, and that's good for 48 yards.
Marcus Peters, the defensive rookie of the year, because he got 8 interceptions, also gave up 8 touchdowns last year, and I wondered whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers would go after him. Didn't take long, did it? He is a guy that has given up some big plays, and that guy right there, Sammy Coates, now, that is his, if that one was over 40 yards, that is his 5th play over 40 yards already this year.
Just what they need, another big play guy. D'Angelo Williams and Bell are both in the game right now, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Brown. And let's take a look at the Steelers starters.
Ben Roethlisberger, Miami Redhawks.
Le'Veon Bell, Michigan State.
Antonio Brown, Central Michigan.
Marcus Wheaton, Chandler High School.
Jesse James, Penn State.
David Johnson, Arkansas State.
Alejandro Villanueva, United States Military Academy.
BJ Finney, Kansas State.
Marquise Pouncey, Lakeland Senior High.
David DeCastro, Stanford.
Marcus Gilbert, Florida.
And right now that line with this set here, Le'Veon Bell splits wide to the right. Ben with the empty backfield, stays in the pocket, fires, caught, 40-yard line. That is Le'Veon Bell, not only a great runner, but a terrific receiver as well. Stopped there by Johnson. It'll be 3rd down and about 2.
This is going to be so much fun to watch tonight. Le'Veon Bell, one of the absolute best runners and one of the best route runners in all of football as far as a running back is concerned, going against Derek Johnson, one of the best cover guys. That one-on-one matchup right there may well decide the game as we go along.
So 3rd down and 2 now at the 40-yard line.
And Bell's flanked out again at the bottom.
Kansas City looked like they came across, and they did. They have a free play here, and they can't cash in. Intended for Brown. Gets doubled there. Peters and some safety help over the top. But the offside, which we anticipate, is going to give them a first down.
Offside. Left defensive end. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Number 68 is reported as an eligible receiver. Number 68 is eligible.
39 straight home games with a TD pass, so that's the equivalent of almost 5 seasons worth. Tied for the longest streak in NFL history. So Ben, of course, has rewritten the Steeler record book, and that wasn't an easy thing to do because Terry Bradshaw was here for a lot of years. But Ben, now in his 13th season, has won 2 Super Bowls and been to another. From the 35-yard line, D'Angelo Williams, who has done such a stellar job in place of Bell. A flag is down. Bell last year was suspended and got hurt, and D'Angelo Williams came over from Carolina. Did a great job.
Number 66, 10-yard penalty, replay first down.
And it's David DeCastro's been having his problems of late.
David DeCastro right in here probably played the worst game I've ever seen David DeCastro play against Philadelphia. Had all kinds of problems in that one against Fletcher Cox, and not a hot start here so far.
Out of Stanford, he was their #1 pick back in 2012. Back to the 46-yard line. 1st and 20.
Blue 20. Blue 20.
On the ground. Williams goes nowhere. And let's take a look at the Chiefs defense.
Jay Howard, Florida. Dontari Poe, Memphis. Allen Bailey, University of Miami.
D. Ford, Auburn University.
Derek Johnson, Texas.
Justin Marshall Lillard, Akron.
Tamba Hali, Penn State.
Marcus Peters, West Oakland, California.
Eric Berry, Tennessee. Ron Parker, Buford High School.
Steve Nelson, Oregon State University.
Got to find Poe's hairstylist. Bob Sutton is the defensive coordinator. Came over when Andy Reid took the job back in 2013. And this defense, Chris talked about at the top, has played extremely well. 2nd and 20. Roethlisberger throws, and that is dropped. That is Bell over the middle. Was surrounded but couldn't hold on. And the Steelers are now faced with a 3rd and 20.
Well, Le'Veon Bell, there was some question. Could he be out as long as he was and missed the first 3 starts? And is he in shape? You tell me, Al. Does he look like he's in shape?
I think so.
Kind of looks like you a little bit. But Le'Veon Bell coming back into the mix. And now what do you do? Because DeAngelo Williams, all he has done is just done a tremendous job as a starting running back. But now they can use Le'Veon Bell in so many different ways. We've already seen him flanked all over the field.
3rd and 20. Roethlisberger stepping up and trying to get away and can't, and gets taken down at the 50-yard line. So after they start with that 47-yard pass to Sammy Coates, they bog down, and it's 4th down at midfield.
Yeah, Tamba Ali, who is their best pass rusher and probably has been for a while, along with Justin Houston, is going to force Roethlisberger to step up into the pocket, and I believe that was Dontari Poe that ended up getting him. Maybe it was D. Ford at the end.
In the punt, Jordan Berry sends it down to the 11-yard line, and Hill, as fast as anybody, brings it back to the 24-yard line. The rookie does, and Kansas City will have it for the 2nd time when we come back. No score. Kansas City, its 2nd possession from the 24-yard line. Through the middle, fumble, and the Steelers are right there to recover it. Spencer Ware, who was not a fumbler in college and didn't fumble last year, has already now fumbled 3 times this season. Right up the middle he goes, and it's Jordan Dangerfield making his first ever start who recovers it.
All right, looks like Stephon Tuitt right at the end is going to strip that thing out for Spencer Ware, who admitted to us the other night he is still learning the running back position, learns something new all the time. A former quarterback in high school. 2 fumbles in 2 games, maybe not an issue. 3 fumbles in 3 games, we've got an issue.
Yeah, for sure. And as we say, in college, didn't fumble last year as he became their primary back after Charles got hurt. And he gives Pittsburgh the ball at the 32-yard line. Roethlisberger rolling, and then a little dump shovel pass at the 30-yard line. Le'Veon Bell stopped there by D. Ford after a gain of 2 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 8. And just to supplement what we were talking about, LSU for 3 years with the Tigers, 295 carries, no fumbles. With Seattle briefly in 2013, then with KC last year, zip. And now 1 in each of the last 3 games.
Yeah, and for Andy Reid, who you saw come over and pat him on the head a little bit, not a lot of choice out here. Jamal Charles certainly is not ready to be the featured back tonight.
Little trickery here. Sammy Coates trying to get around the corner. And the Kansas City defense equal to the task as Frank Zombo is able to secure him. It'll be 3rd down and 8.
You know, Frank Zombo, you think of Tamba Ali playing that position, but it's been Zombo who's played linebacker more than anybody but Derek Johnson on this defense. He smelled that one out early and didn't let the speed of Sammy Coates get him.
Of course, Kansas City minus Justin Houston, one of the finest linebackers in the league. hurt last year and still uncertain as to when he can come back and be active. 3rd down and 9. 3 receivers all set to the right. Ben looks straight over the middle. Ben going for the end zone and wide open. Darius Heyward-Bey for the touchdown. So Todd Haley dials up a play. You got 3 receivers to the right side drawing so much attention, and Heyward-Bey all alone down the left side. 31 yards on a 3rd and 9.
It looks to me like the cornerback over on the left-hand side bit up on the receiver in the flat, not anticipating the deep crossing route. The 2 other players were in the middle of the field and the right third, and when he didn't drop deep, there simply was nobody there.
Now the Steelers last year 8 for 11 on 2-point conversions, so they do this a lot, and they'll do it right here. Go for 2 to try to make it 8-0. Ben spreading them out. Good protection. Finds the open man. Marcus Wheaton for the 2-point conversion. So Mike Tomlin went for it more than anybody last year. Goes for it here, and the Steelers lead 8-0.
Perfect protection that time by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Allowed Ben to hold the ball, and Marcus Wheaton delivered the goods.
The fumble by Ware gave Pittsburgh great field position. Darius Heyward-Bey about as fast as they get. The only question with him through his career has been his hands. Can he catch it? He was wide open. And he hauled that one in halfway through the first quarter. Chris Boswell sending it down. Taken 4 yards in. Davis coming out with it. And now Davis gets flattened at the 12-yard line by Steven Johnson, and we go back to the Steelers touchdown.
You're going to see deep third, which means DJ White should have gone there, but instead he fell in love with this route and did not see that route. That's why you get that wide open. And for Todd Haley, I asked him about Darius Heyward-Bey. He said, I got to admit, I hold my breath a little bit every time he catches the ball. Maybe a little bobble on this one, but this one will mean a lot. Perfectly done for Heyward-Bey.
A number of years ago, he was the #1 draft choice of the Oakland Raiders. So Ware is back in the game, even though Charles is active. Give it to him again. And this time he secures it, but he gains only 2 as we take a look at the Pittsburgh D.
Cam Hayward, The Ohio State.
Javon Hargrave, South Carolina State.
Stephon Tuitt, Notre Dame.
Arthur Moats, James Madison.
Vince Williams, FSU.
Lawrence Timmons, Florida State.
Jarvis Jones, Georgia.
William Gay, Louisville.
Jordan Dangerfield, Towson.
Mike Mitchell, Ohio University.
Ross Cockrell, Duke University.
Keith Butler, the defensive coordinator, took over for the legendary Dick LeBeau last season. Now Jamal Charles will carry it up to the 20-yard line. So Charles through the years has just been terrific. I mean, his career average per carry is 5.5, which is sensational. Week 5 last year, torn ACL against Chicago. So he's been rehabbing since. It's almost exactly a year. And Andy Reid says he's going to spot him tonight. Going to play him maybe a dozen plays or a little bit more.
Yeah, he did the left ACL in 2011, the right ACL in 2015. Just happy to see him back out on the field again.
3rd and 2 from the 20. To the outside, and that will be enough for a first down. The catch is made there by Tyreek Hill. And we go to Michelle.
Well, as you said, this is the first time Jamal Charles has played a game since week 5 of last year when he tore his ACL making a cut against the Bears. The ACL is the main ligament in the knee, which keeps the shin bone aligned directly under the thigh bone. And I spoke with Charles before the game, and he told me this is an emotional night for him and that he's got his fire back, Al.
And we'll take a look at and see how he fares tonight, Michelle. As we say, it'll be a fairly limited role. At least that was Reed talking about it last night.
You have to get Michelle a lab coat, I think.
I'm telling you.
She's getting good at that.
A degree. Forthcoming.
Uh-oh.
And that ball slipped out of his hand and is intercepted. And it's going to be taken down to the 4-yard line by Jarvis Jones. So Smith delivering. He rarely turns the ball over, but the ball began to slip out of his hand. And an easy pick and a 1st and goal for Pittsburgh.
Screen pass, tried to lob it over the head of Cameron Hayward, who has been all over the place so far here tonight. Tips it in the air, and very lucky that wasn't another 6 points on the board. This is a defense that is looking a little different than what they did a week ago. Very active, they're stunning, they're moving up front and causing problems for Alex Smith.
There's Hayward, already a sack tonight. Now a blocked pass, which results in an interception. D'Angelo Williams is the running back in this set, and now they flank him out, stack him to the right, go 5 wide on 1st and goal. Roethlisberger, good protection, fires, caught. Antonio Brown into the end zone. Didn't take long to wipe away some of that aftertaste from last week.
Nothing fancy, just how fast can you get across the field right here? And nobody can do it faster than he does, going against the safety, Ron Parker, that's really not a fair matchup. You know, they're so good. They run so many 2-point plays down there. When they get inside the 5-yard line, they have a full menu to choose from.
Now they go conventional, the extra point. Chris Boswell did a nice job last year. You got a whistle before the snap. And Smith and the Chiefs with Ron Torbert.
So they could, if it's on Kansas City, could move it to the 1, right?
It looks like that's the
go
case
for
right
2.
now. They'll ask Tomlin what he wants to do.
And you got to believe Tomlin's going to say, I'll take it.
Encroachment. Defense, number 92. Pittsburgh is elected to take the 5-yard penalty from the 15-yard line and attempt a kick try.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's the rule on the, if you line up for the extra point. So now it becomes a 28-yard attempt instead of 33.
But they could have taken it down to the 1-yard line and gone for 2, which as much as they go for 2, well, not this time.
And Boswell with the point after. So 5:10 remaining in the first quarter. It starts with the pick, a wobbly pass to Jones, and then quickly to the end zone. 15-0. It's 15-0 already. And the kick is fielded in the corner of the end zone by Niall Davis. And Davis trying to get around on the outside, backing up, great coverage, and that's Hayward Bay, who's already been into the end zone with a touchdown tonight, making a great special teams play, and that's going to pin the Kansas City Chiefs back at about their own 2.
Great job by Danny Smith and his crew. When you are pinned that far in the corner, there is nowhere to go. You now have 11 Pittsburgh Steelers coming after you, and you're Niall Davis. You can't try and turn sideways. This thing has been a disastrous start so far for the Kansas City Chiefs.
So 5:03 to go in the quarter. Chiefs are backed up at their own 2-yard line. Spencer Ware is the running back. And Ware is able to get out of the end zone for a yard, maybe 2. You know, we can always leave it to Mike Tomlin to come up with a phrase. We love it. He gives us our scene sets and promos and the whole thing. Redemption Sunday.
Yeah.
So far, it has been Redemption Sunday after that disaster in Philly last week.
Yeah, both sides of the ball. And he said that we went into the film room as a team and evaluated in front of everybody. He said, everybody put your egos aside because we're going to tell you the truth. And you better be able to handle the truth. And so far, looks like the truth is coming after Kansas City.
Yeah, some coaches burn the game tape, but not this time. And that's a first down, and they needed that one. Demetrius Harris is able to get the ball out of the shadow of the goalpost, and a first down up at about the 17.
Yeah, and we're already seeing a much different looking Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and the result has been that. They are firing blitzes they haven't shown so far. They had been fairly conservative, a lot of zone defenses in the past few games. It came back to bite them against Philadelphia, and they said, the heck with that, let's go get them.
From the 16-yard line, Smith throws a slant, and that's caught. The coverage is great, though. Conley makes the grab and is tackled immediately by Ross Cockrell. It'll be second down and 3 after a gain of 7.
I kind of like this Chris Conley. He's a big guy, about 205 pounds, and he is a guy that is willing to make this catch. So much of this Kansas City offense is predicated upon their ability to run the football first and then go hard play action. That time they got away with the play action, but really thus far the running game hasn't been good enough yet to set up their passing game.
Second down and 2. Charles is in the game. Ball is handed off. This is Tyreek Hill, and he won't go anywhere as he's banged down at the line of scrimmage by Lawrence Timmons. Loss of 2, 3rd and 4.
So they run Tyreek Hill from one side back to the other, thinking they could fool Timmons. Timmons been around a long time, leading tackler on this defense for about the last 3 years. But this Tyreek Hill, I talked to 2 or 3 people, Dow, down on the field. You did as well. They said, I think number 10 is the fastest player in football right now.
Dave Toub has been a special teams coach for a lot of years. Chicago, now here. He's the fastest guy he's ever seen. And he had Devin Hester when he came into the league. 3rd and 4. Smith throws, and it's incomplete. Macklin looked around. That time, James Harrison, the ageless one, at the age of 38, put the heat on 4th down, and they'll punt.
Well, I'm no expert, but I wouldn't want to see James Harrison unblocked very many times if I were playing quarterback. I don't think Alex Smith is going to vote for that many more times either. But I think what they're trying to do is get a back out and get that one-on-one look, but Alex Smith went to the outside instead of back to Spencer Ware.
Dustin Colquitt ready to punt. Now you've got another flag.
False start. Offense number 14. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
That's a charge to DeMarcus Robinson.
Andy Reid knows you don't want to start this way in this building. What is he, 0 for 3, I think, something like that in this building?
At Heinz Field, yeah. Antonio Brown. And this is a terrible kick. Oof. Well, it's a quarter to forget for the Kansas City Chiefs. Turnovers, penalties, horrible kick here. 2:07 left in the quarter. Well, you know, Ben, we've been watching him for years. He can really air it out. And when you take a look at some of the numbers, 21 or more yards from the line of scrimmage. Last year, 29 times. He did that almost twice a game. This year already in 3 games plus a little less than a quarter, 10 times. And when he really airs it out, he did it 15 times last year, 31 or more yards. And already 4 times this season, including 1 tonight.
And that's without Martavis Bryant, arguably their best deep threat.
Right. He's suspended for the year. Through the middle is Bell. Bell's suspension was for missing multiple drug tests. But unlike, let's say, the Tom Brady suspension, where Tom couldn't have any access to the team at all, Bell was allowed to be with the team.
Yeah, we got to sit in on all the meetings, and it's going to be interesting to see how this offensive line reacts to Le'Veon Bell back there at running back. DeAngelo Williams is a guy that every play just hits it as hard as he can. And Le'Veon Bell is a much more patient runner. He tends to wait and wait. Sometimes you'll even see him put his hand on the back of an offensive lineman and make a cut. So it'll be a completely different running style with him.
2nd and 8 off that fake. Ton of time. Deep again. Downfield. Brown. Touchdown. A late flag probably for the celebration at the end, but the touchdown's going to count. 38 yards. So Brown gets into the end zone for the 2nd time. That's Colquitt. That short punt of 23 yards sets it up.
All right, here's your safety way back here, and he's going to go the opposite way with his crossing route. And I don't care who it is. You can put Deion Sanders out there one-on-one. Antonio Brown.
Touchdown after the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct by the offense. Number 84. That 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff.
If Antonio Brown is left one-on-one with anyone and that dance got him 15 yards worth, they're going to throw it.
And his twerking a couple of games ago cost him $9 grand. He'll be a little lighter in the pocket. But right now, Pittsburgh has a 3-touchdown lead, and we're not to the end of the first quarter yet.
I think Philadelphia got him fired up.
I think so. Boswell's extra point is good, and it is 22-0. Well, since Reed and Sutton got together, they've been terrific. Points allowed, tied for 5th in 2013, 2nd best in 14, 3rd best last year. And this team has now given up 21 points. Of course, they haven't been helped by the offensive special teams. Because great field position for Pittsburgh on their last 2 scores.
Yeah, it's a man-to-man coverage team. Missing one of their corners, Philip Gaines, but they have been no match for the Steelers receivers so far.
So the penalty means the kickoff is from the 20, now fielded at the 8. Tyreek Hill. And the rookie is able to spin away from the tackle and slips down on the moist turf. Light rain off and on today at the 28-yard line. 22 in the first quarter. I mean, in the history of this team, and you know it goes all the way back, one of the fabled franchises, most ever in the first quarter in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I think the Steelers receivers look at this man coverage as an insult.
There's Dan Rooney, patriarch of this team, just below him, son Art II. Pretty happy about the way things are going tonight. Kevin Colbert all the way to the right, the GM. Of course, this team has been owned by one family. They've had 2 coaches, Cowher and Tomlin, over the last quarter century, and 2 general managers over that period of time. That is stability. Smith has to shove it to the outside and incomplete. Intended there for Spencer Ware. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Well, Alex Smith, I think, turned around and said, how about if 2 of you guys take a shot at blocking James Harrison? They're going to put the tight end, they're going to put the left tackle, and he still gets the pressure on Alex Smith. James, I don't care what anybody says. I know he's 37, 38 years old, but here's a guy that is still the best pass rusher on this football team off the edge. If they're outside linebackers, he still does the best job of it.
Oldest defensive player in the league. Remember, he retired about 3 years ago, went to Cincinnati for a season, and then came back where he belongs. 2nd and 10. Smith, who can run, but no place to go here. A couple of yards maybe, forced out by Lawrence Timmons, and that's going to make it 3rd down.
One thing that we have seen from Alex Smith over the course of his career is from Pro Football Focus that when he holds this thing longer than 2.5 seconds, his numbers go way down. Completion percentage from 73% to 55%, and over 2.6 seconds, you can see exactly what happens on the outside. So for Alex Smith, for this to work, he has to get the ball out of his hands because the Steelers are coming to get him tonight.
3rd and 8. Smith fires and too high and incomplete. Tried to hit Spencer Ware coming out of the backfield, and it's a 4th down.
Well, they had the matchup they had to want on that one. Get Spencer Ware out there. I think that was Vince Williams that he was working on, and Vince Williams, not really the coverage linebacker anywhere close to what Ryan Shazier would be ordinarily in that position.
Now Colquitt already punting for the 3rd time tonight. His last punt was 23 yards. Of course, as he looks downfield, he sees number 84. That's a scary enough sight, Antonio Brown. And Brown's going to have a chance to run this back from the 13. Brown will run out of room near the sideline. Flag is down at the 17-yard line across the field. So Ben will start from deep in his own territory. I think this one's going to come back
During
even
the return,
farther.
Illegal block in the back by the return team, number 25. Half the distance to the goal from the spot of the foul. Pittsburgh's ball, 1st down.
It's their number 1 draft choice, Artie Burns. Commits a special teams penalty. But they have not done much wrong tonight. Those Pittsburgh Steelers. Heinz Field. Open in the 0-1 season, and since then the Steelers have been to 3 Super Bowls, winning 2 of them.
5-9, yeah.
Ben's last 3 passes have all gone for touchdowns. 1 to Hayward Bay and then 2 to Antonio Brown.
Kansas City stays in their man coverage look, so if Ben wants to go deep again, he can.
This time he goes short. And breaking a tackle, getting a couple of extra yards, Le'Veon Bell. Gain of about 5 yards, 2nd and 5. And that's going to probably take us to the end of a first quarter dominated by the Pittsburgh Steelers, coming off that disaster last week in Philly, but tonight they lead 22-0. Sunday Night Football continues after these messages. Sunday night, and not far from downtown. Just come across the bridge and through a couple of parking lots, and you'll be at Heinz Field. 2nd down and 5 from the Pittsburgh 13-yard line as we start the 2nd stanza. They pick up the blitz downfield and incomplete. Turning around with Sammy Coates, who caught that long bomb earlier. Marcus Peters covering 3rd down and 5.
Well, I think I know what the game plan is. They're going after number 22, Marcus Peters here. They feel like that their speed can get by him, and they've been doing it pretty much all night, but that was well played that time. He forced Sammy Coates right into the boundary and then made the play on the ball. So, but what it does do to you as a cornerback is it backs you up and sets up some routes underneath. Where he's really most dangerous is when they try and throw that 10 to 20 yard range. He looks through the receiver to the quarterback and makes some great plays on the ball.
3rd and 5. Then to the other side, and it's Brown stopping, going to the outside. Then put it in there perfectly, and that's the 1st down as they convert a 3rd down for 18 yards.
And back after the rookie again, DJ White on the outside here. Just going to run up and do a stop route on the outside against this young man, and probably got a little push off, which he was lobbying for, but most rookies aren't going to win that battle.
Yeah, so the Chiefs bench saying he pushed him. But Brown he'll get away with a few things in his 7th year in the league. A fantasy football darling. I mean, if you have him, you're in pretty good shape. 4-yard gain here for Le'Veon Bell, setting up a 2nd down and 6.
Here's a good example of Le'Veon Bell and the patience that he shows. He goes up there, and you'll see him kind of dance around and then dart back through the hole, allowing those offensive linemen a chance to work those double team blocks and then get up to the next level. Can be so frustrating playing linebacker on the other side of him because you really don't know which way he's going to go, and you've got to wait until he moves, and he's willing to wait longer usually than you're willing to wait.
This time they spread him to the right side. Roethlisberger goes empty again, feeling the pressure, and Ben's going to get wrapped up and sacked back at the 26-yard line. And the crowd says, wait a minute. You know, our man, he stood up, blew the whistle. Little extra from Kansas City here, but no flag.
Well, probably because they laid him down gently.
Yes, right.
And Tomlin said, I don't care. That's the franchise right there. You're not allowed to do this after the whistle. So here it comes. They've got a good hold of him. Jay Howard does. But everybody loves taking a shot at Ben because nobody can ever get him on the ground. As a matter of fact, the Kansas City players have been told, do not tackle him, tackle the ball.
They eased him into the turf.
Yeah. And Tomlin gave it a double hey.
Yep.
Hey. That means don't hit my quarterback.
3rd and 14. This time a 3-man rush. Roethlisberger, he's going to take off. Ben with a flag down. Dives is well short of the first down. And you get a penalty. Ron Torbert's been pretty busy tonight. We've already had 7 accepted penalties in the game.
Yeah, looked like Marcus Gilbert may have gotten a bit.
Offense number 77. 10-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
That is him.
Sometimes when a back chips like Le'Veon Bell is going to do right here, as you get D Ford coming around the edge, it sends him in a different direction. Then he got bounced back the other way, and as Ben stepped up, I think it was a grab of that right shoulder pad right there that you can see pretty easily. It's hard to get away with anything as an offensive lineman now that they have 2 officials standing behind the offensive line.
That makes it 3rd and 24.
Yeah.
And we got action again up front. David DeCastro this time.
Ball start. Offense number 66. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Yeah, his struggles continue, making it 3rd down and 29 now.
Yeah, we thought we were going to be keeping our eye on B.J. Finney, the guy replacing Ramon Foster at the left guard position, but so far he's done pretty well.
Been looking for that 3rd and 29 play. They might just settle for a little chunk underneath. And they want to draw. Bell going to swing to the outside and turns nothing into a little something as he gets it out to the 26-yard line. Gain of 14, and they will punt.
Yeah, you always want to know what's the other back going to do. You know, DeAngelo Williams has been such a great soldier for this team and filling in for Le'Veon Bell on multiple occasions. And that time he was put in the game and was basically a lead blocker. Everybody talked about the unselfishness of DeAngelo Williams and how happy he was that Le'Veon Bell was back.
Jordan Berry to send it down to Hill. And Hill will collect it at the 23 and then stay in bounds.
Look out.
That's across the field. Picks up some blocking. And with his 4.25 speed, there's a flag down. There's another one. So you've got 2 flags, and chances are that will go for naught. But he shows you what he can do. This guy is so fast. I mean, he makes the catch almost at the sideline and then is able to stay in bounds. And then another flag comes in at the end here.
Well, the one I saw was Demetrius Harris, number 84. He already has a kickoff return for a touchdown call back. Now he's got a matching punt return to go with it. And believe me, these blocks were not going to make the difference.
That one was on the edge. But it's clear that this is coming back. It was 4th and 15.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 84, the return team. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Kansas City's ball, 1st down. Timeout.
All right, 11 minutes to go in the half. 22-zip. Alex Smith, the overall #1 pick in the draft back in 2005. QBs selected first overall with 50 or more starts for 2 teams. Jim Plunkett, the Patriots and the Raiders. Vinny Testaverde with the Buccaneers and the Jets. And of course, Peyton Manning with the Colts and the Broncos winning the Super Bowl with each. 49ers and Chiefs for Alex Smith. And Andy Reid was saying, boy, he wished he would have had him from the beginning of his career. Mike Nolan was the coach when he was drafted in San Fran. Then they had Mike Singletary. Then they went to Harbaugh, which was pretty good for a while. And then Harbaugh went to Colin Kaepernick. Perhaps you heard of him. And Smith was sent to Kansas City. And this is Ware taking it up to the 21-yard line.
Alex Smith, a very intelligent young man, 3.74 grade point average in economics at Utah. And there have been a few people telling stories of some of the history debates that Alex Smith and Andy Reid get into. Alex saying that Andy has a lot of useless knowledge that he likes to throw around, and I take him on occasionally.
We all do. 2nd and 7 to the outside. The screen set up as Albert Wilson will take it for a first down, plowing ahead up to the 35-yard line with a little more than 10 to play in the first half.
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs, an excellent screen team. Look at this, 3 against 2, and you're going to try and get out here late. That's not good enough against the Kansas City Chiefs. All those offensive linemen getting out in front of that one. And Alex Smith looks like a second baseman turning the pivot over there and getting the ball out and giving them a chance on the edge. Same formation.
They bunch 3 receivers to the right side. Put Hill in the backfield, flare him out. Smith will throw it to him underneath, but there's no place to go. Makes the catch just past the line of scrimmage, tackled there by Vince Williams.
I was a little surprised they didn't throw the screen again. They had the same 2-on-3 look out there, and as long as they're going to play off, this is an interesting screen team, though. Travis Kelce, number 87, is their tight end. He is one of the most explosive tight ends. So many of his yards come after the catch. 108 of his 197 yards coming in after the catch, and they really need to get him going here.
They haven't thrown his way tonight. And up to the 42-yard line goes Spencer Ware. You saw Charles on the sideline. Again, Andy Reid saying, you know, we're going to spot him. Maybe a dozen plays, maybe a little bit more tonight. So Jamal just biding his time. They have a bye week next week. Give him a little extra time to rest up. And now you got Kelce who comes limping off.
That's not good. Because this is a team that between he and Macklin and now I guess a little bit with Tyreek Hill in the mix, those are the playmakers.
Yep. He got rolled up on Demetrius Harris. Is the new tight end. They keep it on the ground on 3rd down and 5, and that's Ware, who may have picked up the first down with that extra effort. Looked like he was stopped about 2 yards shy, able to get away from Stephon Tuitt to, let's see if he picks it up. Gonna take a look at the marker. Kelce comes back in, and they're gonna give him the first down.
Yeah, Stephon Tuitt, there's a little tackle and tackle stunt on the inside, and Tuitt ran right into him and just couldn't make the play.
I tell you, when after they spotted it, I thought he was well short of the first down. And Pittsburgh could challenge, but it's too late, baby. It's too late. Smith is going to pinball his way back to the line of scrimmage. Yeah, when they put that ball down, it was clearly short of the first down, and Pittsburgh, I think, would have won that challenge. And Mike Tomlin may be talking to somebody upstairs who said, why don't I get the call from you guys? I'm surmising.
Yeah, you know, the head coach usually is the last to know, and here's James Harrison, and Spencer Ware is going to try and chip him and probably chip something on himself with that one. But that was a get off the field kind of play if they had gotten that challenge in. Oh, here comes Tyreek Hill to the backfield now.
2nd and 11. To the outside, Kelce, and he'll get taken down immediately by William Gay. Again, doing yeoman work through the years. 10th year in the league.
Yeah, these corners have really been playing pretty well. They're not taking a lot of chances. They're not asked to play all the man coverage that they do in Kansas City. But Ross Cockrell and William Gay have been doing all right. Now they've got Artie Burns at has to step up in that third role. Justin Gilbert in a trade over from Cleveland. But the one tonight to keep an eye on is Jordan Dangerfield, who had never played in a game on this defense, starting at the safety position, and they haven't been able to take advantage of that.
Steelers going to take a timeout before a 3rd down and 12. Big night already for Mr. Brown. What else is new? 3 catches, 60 yards, and 2 forays into the end zone.
Now, this is not how the Kansas City Chiefs win football games. Now, they did come back on opening day against San Diego and make a bit of a move, but that's not the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's not the Pittsburgh Steelers in this building. But really, it's not even close. This is the best we've seen the Steelers defense so far this year, too.
So 3rd and 12 upcoming. Neither team really doing much on the ground, and Pittsburgh doing all the damage through the air. And those 2 very costly turnovers for the Kansas City Chiefs, and 1 terrible punt leading to a 22-0 lead. Third and 12.
Rookie Artie Burns down at the bottom. See if they try to go get him.
Well, Smith looks that way, throws to the outside, and that is caught by Chris Conley at 6'3", and Conley working against the aforementioned Mr. Burns. Their #1 pick is enough for the 1st down.
You could see him just drop back quickly and willing to give up this underneath throw, but on 3rd and 11, you don't give up an 11-yard throw. That's where you're looking for your #1 draft pick to go up there and be a little bolder than that.
Pittsburgh had not selected a defensive back with their #1 pick since Troy Polamalu in 2003. How'd that work out? Nile Davis stopped at the line of scrimmage, 2nd and long. Vince Williams makes the stop.
You know, Vince Williams is one of those guys. He was a special teams player forever and still is. But every time they call on him, he is just one of those guys. They call him the 9-on-7 fear factor guy, that when you get in one of those practices where it's no hiding, no passing, no outside runs, it's all right between the tackles, nobody wants to see Vince Williams line up opposite them.
And the Steelers tonight minus Shazier. Ryan Shazier hurt. So Williams seeing a lot more action, and right there, that's Tyreek Hill who gets taken down, and Mr. Williams does it again.
Yeah, he is not the most athletic. He's not going to run a 4.5 or anything faster than that like a Ryan Shazier might do. He's a smart guy. He's seen everything. He knows what you're doing. He's like James Harrison. You're not going to trick him. And even if you got the fastest guy in football out there, you're going to come up and make a play.
3rd and 11. Big uphill battle for the Chiefs. I mean, the equivalent, they play small ball, the equivalent of small ball in baseball, down by 22. Now that's tipped and almost caught and incomplete. Tipped by Tuitt, almost wound up being caught downfield. Instead, it's 4th and 11.
And that was a big save because that one was going to be completed. You had Albert Wilson right by the 1st down marker, wide open, was going to make the catch, but the tip pass got him. There's Wilson right in the middle of the field, and there's Tuitt. I'll tell you, the strength of this Steelers defense really is Cameron Hayward and Stephon Tuitt right there at those defensive end positions.
Colquitt. Brown lets it go. And can they save it? It's Hill who tried to get a hand on it, but he could not. It's a touchback. Out it comes to the 20. 4.5 to go in the half. Ben Roethlisberger, the pump fake, throws, caught. That is David Johnson making his first catch of the night. #2 tight end out to the 46-yard line. Heath Miller retires. So they have Jesse James and David Johnson as their tight ends.
I tell you, Ben Roethlisberger with his pump fake moves people. You see him, he had a linebacker in front of David Johnson. So what did he do? He pumped to the outside and then threw it back inside. So he's just playing games with that underneath coverage. And he's been playing games for a long time.
He's already thrown for 179 yards and 3 scores tonight.
Blue 20. Blue 20.
Bell then showing some patience and then taking it across midfield, getting it to the Kansas City 49-yard line for a gain of 5. With 3.5 left in the half, it'll be 2nd down and 5.
I think David DeCastro is settling back into his game now from the right guard position. He is the guy that is the puller that's going to be the lead blocker. You'll see Derek Johnson come up here. He'll hit him, and watch Le'Veon Bell just very patiently sit there and wait for that block to develop and then go pick up about 5 or 6 yards.
Now Williams comes in as the running back on 2nd and 5. And D'Angelo Williams, 33 years old, picks up about 4. Of course, he and Jonathan Stewart for so many years in Carolina, known as Double Trouble. And he probably has his career being extended now by virtue of the fact that he wasn't that heavy duty back down there.
Yeah, I'll tell you the other thing, D'Angelo Williams, a year ago, he gave up 0 pressures on his quarterback. So he gets in there and does the block and has given up a couple. And Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator, appreciates all his skills. And now they're able to slowly work Le'Veon Bell back in and out. But that's a heck of a 1-2 punch.
There's the fake to Bell, and Ben will throw it underneath. And Brown, who makes every catch imaginable, picks that one up off the shoe tops. Le'Veon Bell.
Here's Derek Johnson, and it's going to be Le'Veon Bell. It looks like Johnson's going to get there, and Bell's going to chop his legs out. And Ben's got just enough on that football to convert for the first down.
And Bell doing everything in his return. 2-minute warning, 22-0 Steelers. As we've less than 2 minutes to play now, it's Le'Veon Bell picking up close to a first down. 2nd and 1.
Boy, do the Kansas City Chiefs need to make a play, get something emotional going as one of the Steelers now down on the field.
Marcus Gilbert is the injured Pittsburgher. Marcus Gilbert now on the table as they check him out. That means Ryan Harris will come in at right tackle. Here's what happened to Gilbert.
You'll see that ankle right down there get caught up in the pile, and Gilbert is one of the top 15 pass blocking tackles in football, so that is a big loss. They do get Ryan Harris, who was a starting tackle for world champion Broncos a season ago.
He's number 68 now on a 2nd and 1. That'll be a first down as Bell charges ahead to the 27-yard line. Clock running down, about a minute and a half to go in a thoroughly dominant Pittsburgh first half. And not only that, they're going to get the ball to start the second half. Roethlisberger dumps it underneath. That's Jesse James, tight end.
Are they still yelling Heath?
Yes, they are. All those years, the tight end, Heath Miller. Heath.
You better yell louder than that if you want them to hear it.
A minute to go now. 2nd and 4. To the outside, and that's caught by Sammy Coates.
I can't tell you how significant it is that Sammy Coates is starting to make these plays. Remember, Martavis Bryant is suspended, and you just wondered whether or not Sammy Coates, who we've seen go deep, and he's had 5 catches now, over 40 yards this season, but could he develop the rest of the game? They said that he deserves the chance to try and do it, and so far tonight, he's been deliberate.
From the 12-yard line.
Yeah, right.
To the outside, Coates. And he'll get spun out at about the 9-yard line by Marcus Peters. Stops the clock with 49 seconds.
Now, Pittsburgh Steelers pretty good at their screen game out there as well. Going to try and get big Jesse James, a tight end, out in front of that one. Kansas City and especially Andy Reid been doing so much with the screen game over all the years. He's so good at it with Philadelphia and carried it right here to Kansas City. But as of tonight, boy, nothing's working too well.
There's Ben Roethlisberger, already 201 yards in the opening half. 2nd and 7. 3-man rush. Fade, and that is caught. Jesse James for the touchdown. Beats Sorensen. 4 touchdown passes for Roethlisberger.
A lot of man coverage. There's Daniel Sorensen right there against Jesse James. Just going to get the outside position. Big guy. See Ben Roethlisberger try and freeze that safety so that nobody else can get in the mix. So that Ron Parker couldn't get there. And for Ben Roethlisberger, for Mike Tomlin, this is a little different look than we saw against the Philadelphia Eagles last week.
Boswell for the extra point. Well, Ben knew he could go to the bank with Jesse James. Just want to see if you're listening.
It's going to start early.
Well, it's 29-0. It's really going to start early. Pittsburgh on this Sunday night. All Steelers 29-0. And that will bound its way through the end zone.
Well, it was called Redemption Sunday after what they did against the Eagles a week ago, and I'm a believer. Early on, we get the fumble that led to points, and then you get the tip pass, and then you get the wide open Darius Hayward-Bay, then you get Antonio Brown one-on-one, and you get the fist bump, and Pittsburgh is back to being Pittsburgh, and Ben is back to being Ben.
239 yards for the Steelers. And again, of all things for Kansas City, Pittsburgh gets the ball. And we begin the 3rd quarter. And Smith get anything going here. Caught up at the 33-yard line, and finally they're able to get the ball to Kelsey. And their top receiver, but tonight he's only caught 2 for 7 yards. And that is incomplete over the middle. 3rd down and 2 intended for Albert Wilson.
That was interesting because they had signal callers out for this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and you wondered with Ryan Shazier and Robert Golden, their 2 primary signal callers, not in the game. Were we going to see mental mistakes? We're going to see, yeah, we see a goose egg. That's all we're seeing out here. Shazier, they had a race with Shazier, and he won it with all these speedy wide receivers on the team, and he outran them all.
You saw Tomlin looking at that clock. I mean, they need to get the ball back here. But you can forget that right now as Jeremy Maclin makes the catch, and it's a first down to the 47, and now Kansas City will take a timeout with 15 seconds. 29-0 Steelers. Well, it's starting to rain here and heavy again. The call for intermittent showers. 15 seconds. And now Smith will at least try to get him at a field goal range, get something on the board.
Here comes Mike Mitchell.
Looking for the blitz. And he will come. He gets blocked though. Catch is made and taking it. Jeremy Maclin 30-yard line, and they can take a timeout right now and at least bring in the field goal unit. Or just attempt to throw one into the end zone. It is coming down at Heinz Field. 62 degrees at the moment.
Yeah, Andy Reid opting to at least try to get something on the board, although never easy kicking in this stadium and never easy kicking in this rain either.
Cairo Santos has not missed this season. This will be a 48-yard attempt in the conditions.
The burden really on Dustin Colquitt here to get it down.
Yeah.
Because you want that kicker to be able to see that ball on the tee as long as, it's obviously not a tee, but on the grass.
Pittsburgh just took a timeout. Also the snapper, James Winchester. I think Tomlin's just trying to get the ball a little wetter. The pulse. Bell making his first appearance this season. The defense, 1 pick and 2 sacks. They had 1 sack in their first 3 games total. Roethlisberger has already thrown 4 touchdown passes tonight. Brown has caught 2 of them. And the Steelers, after that rout last week, are the routers, not the routees tonight. 49-yard attempt for Santos, and you can see Colquitt had a little trouble getting it down, and just enough to have it hit the upright and bound away with 4 seconds. You're exactly right, Chris. You can see where the wet ball, just a little mistiming there, and Santos almost made it, but bangs it off the goal post.
You know, and you have to give Mike Tomlin some credit. He let those guys sit out there. Their hands got a little wetter, and the ball got a little wetter. I'm sure they had a towel over it. Slipped on the ground, but a little psychological warfare. And, you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they like shutouts. They didn't want to see that goose egg go off the board.
And now they will call the dogs off because they'll just take a knee here. Roethlisberger will. And that will end a thoroughly dominant first half. 29-0.
It was a spectacular first half performance, and Ben Roethlisberger, when he gets it going like that, sometimes it just doesn't matter who's playing on the other side.
Number 11 overall pick was Ben back in 2004 in a draft in which Eli Manning went 1 and Phillip Rivers went 4. Set up the screen, Le'Veon Bell, and they begin with a 17-yard gain on their first play of the third quarter as we go to Michelle.
Well, I spoke with Mike Tomlin at halftime, and he repeated, this is Redemption Sunday. So they had an aggressive offensive mentality early because he said our players just couldn't wait to get out there. And the missed tackles last week were a point of emphasis this week. He said, look, it's no mystery. We have to play fundamentally well. We didn't last week. He's happy with the way they are so far. Marcus Gilbert, left ankle injury. He is out for the second half, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Next week, the New York Jets will come to town here as the Steelers are on their way to a 3-1 opening season record. Le'Veon Bell picks up a couple.
All right, well, you want to play linebacker against Le'Veon Bell. You know that you're going to have to be patient. Let's take a look at it. Derek Johnson's perspective right there. He's going to see Bell come up behind that double team, stand there, wait there, and you just have to anticipate that he could go hard left, it could go right, but you've got to wait as long as he waits, or this is not going to work out for you.
Yes, sir.
Bell played his college ball at Michigan State, number 2 pick back in 2013. Play action, pass caught inside the 40-yard line of Kansas City by Xavier Grimble, who's the number 3 tight end.
You know, he is, but he is climbing the ladder. He made a great touchdown catch against the Cincinnati Bengals earlier. And, of course, you know, they've made the changeover now. Matt Spaeth, Heath Miller, those guys down here. But this is probably the best receiving threat they've had on the Steelers in some time. They think that Xavier Grimble is going to become a real weapon down the middle of the field. And that's about all they need right now, right? Another weapon somewhere for Ben Roethlisberger.
Right, you got Brown, you got Bell, of course, Bryant suspended for the year. To the left side goes Le'Veon Bell. He takes the ball to the 32-yard line, gain of about 4. Second down.
Tell you, one of the good first halves that we've seen here is with B.J. Finney, young man that got so emotional when he got picked by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's just taking people and burying them. That time it was Derek Johnson taking advantage of that. So B.J. Finney with really an excellent first half for him.
Out of Kansas State, 2nd down and 6. Game time and slings it to the outside. And look at Bell just take DJ White with him for a few extra yards. Bell with the reception. It'll be 3rd down and 4.
I was talking with Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he was saying he really believed that what happened against the Philadelphia Eagles was a blessing. He said a good team, sometimes it's hard to get them to listen. They were listening. We got together as a football team. Coach Tomlin came in before the meeting and he said, guys, set those egos aside. We got a lot of coaching done. We've made a lot of corrections this week, and I think in the long run, last week is going to end up being a blessing for us.
Todd Haley, the head coach of Kansas City for a little less than 3 years. 09 through 11. Roethlisberger deep downfield, turning around and making the catch for the touchdown is Marcus Wheaton.
Going after the rookie again.
DJ White getting taken to the cleaners.
That was a complete lost ball, lost cornerback. Man coverage on the outside for DJ White. Turns around, looks for the ball, does a pirouette, and there's Wheaton in the end zone. And for Marcus Wheaton, it was a rough week. 3 drops, including a touchdown last week. Let's see, does he get the 2nd foot down?
Scoring play automatically reviewed.
I think the first one was down before the. Looked good to me.
Should be confirmed, and Chris Boswell comes in to attempt the extra point.
What's the maximum quarterback rating you can have in a football game? 158.
Will be reviewed.
Yeah. We're going to test the high end.
Well, Ron Torbert wants to take one more look at it, so he will go under the hood. All right, they're still looking at it. Ron Torbert checking it out. It's very close.
Yeah, it's really going to be a question. This foot, I think, is still on the ground when the ball's there, but does he have control of the ball before that foot comes off the ground? And I'm going to say no. That little bobble, and then it looks like everything hits the line after that. So I do think that one foot was on the ground, but the bobble is probably going to cost him the catch.
Or not.
The ruling on the field stands as called. It's a touchdown.
So for those of you who have Wheaton in your fantasy league, congrats. Could have been overturned. You're right. I agree with you.
For those of you who had Ben, just retire.
Right.
Yeah, I think Andy Reid has a point. I thought you could see the bobble on the first one, but they don't want those bang close plays. They want it to be obvious, and they're sort of holding by that this season.
Flag down on the extra point. A lot of smiles on the Pittsburgh sideline. Offense, defense, and special teams. Pretty good in all 3 phases
Offside.
tonight.
Defense. That 5-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff. The try is good. Timeout.
36-0. Well, Western Pennsylvania last week losing Arnold Palmer, who of course grew up in Latrobe, nearby Latrobe. Arnold Palmer Regional Airport, big Pirate fan. There he was with Jerome Bettis, honor after honor. What a life he lived. Phenomenal athlete and an even better man. Arnold Palmer passing away here in Pittsburgh last Sunday at the age of 87. And the memorial service will be Tuesday at Latrobe. And I'm sure the Golf Channel will have extensive coverage of the tribute to one of the all-time greats. Man who probably had more to do with making golf as popular as it is as anybody. And we go to Michelle.
Well, Al, Antonio Brown told me before the game that he met Arnold Palmer not long before the golf great passed away. And he said Palmer shared a lot of inspirational thoughts about both life and being a competitor. So it was important to Brown to pay tribute tonight. He is wearing cleats that have images of Arnold Palmer on them. And he told me that he received special permission to wear them throughout tonight's game, Al.
There it is right there. Thank you, Michelle. A tribute, all kinds of tributes to the King. As simple as that. Did you ever see him play in person?
No, but I had a few conversations that I'll never forget. He was a funny man. He could catch you off guard in a heartbeat.
Smith would dump it off. I think one of the reasons that he became so successful, he was so accessible. The flag is thrown on the play here. Short little gain for the moment. Get the call from Ron Torbert
Before
in a
the pass
second.
was thrown, holding, defense, number 25. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
You know, golf is so different. I mean, where else can you walk side by side with the athlete? Can't do it in football or baseball or hockey or basketball. But Palmer, in those years, he would walk and the gallery would be with him, and he would engage with the gallery. He was very accessible. He had a great smile. He had a great gait. And, of course, he was a phenomenal golfer on top of it. So he had a lot of things going. Smith drops it. Then throws, and that's caught up at the 42. I'll tell you one thing, too, Chris, that's really weird. It's, you know, here we are a half century later. He was a smoker, and he would smoke on the golf course. And nobody looked cooler with a cigarette than Arnold Palmer. I mean, he was cooler than the Marlboro Man.
Yeah.
Everything about him was cool.
Yeah. Can I tell my story or no? What do you think?
Well, wait for the end of the game when, well, why not? Over-under is 48. Go right ahead.
He said, so we go, I'm in college. We're getting ready to play in the Tangerine Bowl. And so a couple of us, he invited us up to his apartments in Orlando. We go up to Bay Hill and it's sitting up there. And so we go in and we, oh, Mr. Palmer, oh, it's so great to meet you. It's such an honor. It's how you. And he looked at all of us and he goes, you guys might win the game, but no way you're covering. I'm like, what? And we all fell on the ground, and he immediately engaged all of us, and we all became just huge fans.
He needed action. Second and 16.
We could use a little too.
Oh, yeah. The flag is down. Ware drops the pass right there.
What is it about this place that sometimes people come in and if the Steelers...
Illegal use of hands to the face. Offense, number 72. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is third down.
If the Steelers jump on somebody early in this building, it just seems like there's no stopping it. I've been on the other side playing in this, no, not this building, but in other buildings. You know, when you come in here and they get something going early on, it is tough to turn that switch off.
Well, Chiefs committed a couple of turnovers and a 23-yard punt. Ben started to air it out, going to work on the corners. And he pretty much turned the lights out very early. And now you get another flag. Just what you need in a situation like this.
Ball start. Offense, number 76. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
They have a bye week coming, and it's probably a good time for it. Though then again, teams get killed like this, they really want to get back on the field quickly, as did the Steelers this week after last week in Philly. Set up a screen to Ware. And he threads his way all the way out to the 45, but they needed 21 yards and come up considerably short, setting up a 4th down and 7.
I always thought September was, now we're into early October, but sort of the great fooler month. Because all these teams now are made up of superstars and then rookies, right? That's how the salary cap system sort of works. So what so many of these teams come down to is development of young players. And great coaches and great staffs are able to take those young players and make them contributors by the end of the year. And those are the teams that go on into the playoffs and win championships.
Good way to look at it. Colquitt. Fair catch call for by Brown at the 8-yard line. 9 minutes to go in the third quarter. All home team. Terrible towels. Been waving here for probably a quarter century or more. A lot of waving tonight. 36-0. Steelers on top, and they begin this drive from deep in their own territory. And Bell picks up 6 yards. Bell tonight, he's carried the ball 9 times. There is Jamal Charles, who comes back tonight after a year's absence, but Andy Reid said he was going to play very sparingly, and in fact he might even be done for the night. He gets in only for a couple of more plays, you would think. Rest him up during the bye week and get him healthier a fortnight from now when they resume action in Oakland. Big hole. There goes Bell. After the 35-yard line goes Le'Veon Bell.
Check out our guy B.J. Finney here making some blocks, and this hasn't just been occasionally. He has been getting it done all night long. You can remember when he introduced to his family that he was going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he was in tears and just so emotional, and he's playing with that sort of emotion here tonight as well.
Doing a good job in place of Ramon Foster. And this time nothing happening up front. Chris talking about Finney, and here he was announcing that he was going to be a Steeler.
Standing in front of you today as proof that dreams do come true. I'm under contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, his dad had passed away shortly before that and had been a big Steeler fan, so a lot of emotion there, and as Chris just pointed out, doing a heck of a job tonight. 2nd and 11. The spinorama, and that one is smelled out, but getting away. His coach, at least for the moment, got out of the grasp of Marcus Peters, and it will be 3rd down and long.
Yeah, been a little bit of a tough night tonight for Marcus Peters, but this time comes up and going to make at least the initial hit there and sort it out. Mike Tomlin was talking about B.J. Finney, and I loved his line. He said, you can't make him miserable. He said he loves the misery associated with the position and the game. That's an offensive lineman right there. That's a true Pittsburgh Steeler.
A big ugly in the trench. A homage to Keith Jackson.
Ball start. Offense. Number 85. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Scramble. Big uglies in the trenches, and a couple of teams that don't like each other very much.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the game when a couple of teams, they really like each other a lot.
Not in this league.
No. So it's 3rd down and 17. Mid-3rd quarter. Roethlisberger heading for another 300-yard night. Keeps it on the ground. And Bell dances his way up to the 39-yard line. You know, you talk about quarterback contrast. Ben Roethlisberger in his career has thrown for 300 yards in a game 46 times in regular season action. Alex Smith, who's played 1 year less, has thrown for 300 yards 6 times.
And you can see it in action tonight. Alex Smith is a ball control, sort of pure West Coast, get the ball out of his hands quickly. We talked about some of those numbers. And Ben Roethlisberger is the exact opposite. He is throw it deep, let my speed work to my advantage, and we have seen it time after time tonight.
Nice boot there by Berry. And Kansas City will get the ball at the 18-yard line. 5:17 left in the third. 36 zilch. Smith backpedals, throws, catch made, and tackle made immediately as Knile Davis taken down by Jordan Dangerfield.
Even Jordan Dangerfield in his first start coming out and tackling, but that's been the story. The Steelers this week got back to the very basics of football, and it all starts with tackling. We've seen it from the first couple of plays on. They've been physical, they've been creating turnovers, and they've been making the Kansas City Chiefs pay a price for everything that they've tried to do on offense tonight.
Meanwhile, Macklin, who's normally sure-handed, has been the last couple of years. He's been dropping them this year. It's another one there for a 3rd down and 7.
This is a Kansas City team that really has to win in a controlled environment, don't they?
Yep.
I mean, you just get the feeling that, you know, they slug it out and it's a close game and ball control and don't make big mistakes. But when this team makes big mistakes, they can get out of a game quickly.
And underneath, that's caught, and the price is paid as Knile Davis takes a shot, picks up the 1st down, hit by William Gay. 1st down.
That's the best play I've seen the Chiefs make tonight. Knile Davis right there, caught the ball. He knew he had to go hard in one direction and just put his head down and picked up a 1st down.
And that's another drop right there as Knile Davis can't secure that one. 2nd down and 10.
You know, the Chiefs, I think, still feeling their way through a little bit. They've had 5 different guys playing guard. And that guy right there has to be the happiest man in the building. Keith Butler, the defensive coordinator, endured that one in Philadelphia. Of course, taking over for Dick LeBeau, everything is going to be miserable for a while. But this team had started going the other way a bit with their pass defense and the number of yards they were giving up. And they come in here tonight and just whitewash Kansas City.
Butler, the longtime linebackers coach, under the ball, and he ascends when Dick leaves and winds up in Tennessee. Conley makes the catch here, a little bit short of the 1st down, 3rd down.
Yeah, it was weird because the first couple of games they were sort of comfortably in front and they didn't do a lot of blitzing, and you know, some of the stuff you're used to seeing with Dick LeBeau. Then last week they were so far behind it didn't make a lot of sense. So I think tonight's the first time you've really seen what Keith Butler wants this defense to look like.
Sounded like the whistle blew before. It did.
Ball start. Offense number 72. 5-yard penalty. It's still 3rd down.
2nd penalty on Eric Fisher, who was the overall #1 pick in the draft in 2013 out of Central Michigan.
You know, they've tried to shore up. They gave Eric Fisher a new contract. They signed Mitchell Schwartz. Of course, the AFC West, no shortage of pass rushers off the edge in that division.
Broncos, Raiders, each of those teams winning today. And it's over the middle and incomplete. 4th down. Smith looks for a flag. And there ain't any. 4th down.
Well, you don't often see the #1 corner out on a tight end, but they knew that Travis Kelce was the #1 target, especially on 3rd down situations. I think that was sort of inadvertent. I didn't think that was intentional.
So it's 4th and 6, and they're going to go for it from their own 35-yard line. Why not? And that is a 1st down as Jeremy Macklin goes to the turf and makes the catch and looks over to the sideline as if he's going to have to come out of the game for a play.
Yeah, Mike Mitchell was sitting there waiting on him, and he made that catch, but he paid a big price. Mike Mitchell is an enforcer in center field. There aren't many left because of all the restrictions on contact here. He comes in with the shoulder. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the hit, but if If you watch any Steelers games at all, you know that Mike Mitchell likes to sit in center field, and if you want to run one of those little skinny posts, you're going to pay a price for it.
Started his career with the Panthers. And out of the 50-yard line goes Spencer Ware for a short gain. 3 minutes to go in the third quarter.
We've seen Vince Williams all night long ended up making plays like that. Shazier is the pure speed guy, maybe the fastest linebacker in all of football, running about a 4.35. I think they even had a race with the wideouts, and he won. Williams is just one of those smart guys.
And Smith airs one out, going deep and broken up. Tyreek Hill streaking down the sideline, but Artie Burns, you got rookie against rookie that time, and he broke it up, third down.
That was impressive. Look at the big cushion that Artie Burns is going to get, but watch him catch up here at the end of this play. He's a sprint champion too. He was our junior hurdles champion, and he comes back in. That's a spectacular play by Artie Burns.
Reached out, got a hand on it. Number 1 pick. Macklin is back in. Hill was a 5th-round choice. Third down and 8. Smith guns one to the 40-yard line, and that's caught by Chris Conley to move the sticks. First down.
I tell you, that Chris Conley, you know, there's a lot of other guys, and Tyreek Hill, and all these guys can run so fast. But Conley, you need something dirty done. You want him to block. You want him to chip. You want him to make a tough catch on a slant or a crossing route. That's your guy.
This is the 11th play of the drive, and another first down, and then getting bounced around is Jeremy Macklin after picking up about 14.
Now, one of the things about playing receiver in a blowout, you get a few padded stats to go with it, but more often than not, they come at a pretty heavy price because those guys are sitting back, and it's like target practice for the DBs.
3-man rush this time, and Smith throws on the run as he's moving forward. That's caught by Albert Wilson. Tackled by Mike Mitchell at the 20-yard line. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, Niall Davis went back to the locker room accompanied by the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant. That's an indication that he's in the concussion protocol. Remember, Sharkhandrick West is out in this game, and they wanted to limit Jamaal Charles, so very few running options.
All right, Michelle, and they have done that. Charles pretty much bench-ridden for most of the game as the pass under pressure is incomplete. Cockrell is there, and it will be third down.
Here's a big rookie, Javon Hargrave. He's going to come off right here and get some pressure right up the gut. He's a rookie. He's the guy that they hope becomes the next Casey Hampton around here. Very quick in college. He had 37 career sacks at South Carolina State, coming out of a small school program, but certainly has that sort of wide body that they used to have back in the day with Casey Hampton.
Oh, yeah. Hampton like the prototypical nose tackle. And then Smith flings one to the sideline, and it's caught. Conley making the catch, and Burns saying, no way, man.
There's a little rainbow in there.
Quick look at it here.
Catch. Both feet down at the catch.
Well, they can challenge that, and they will do that. So that would have been a first and goal.
I think Tomlin's still mad about the one he didn't challenge in the first.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed catch. We'll review the play. Timeout.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to come back, and if it does, it'll be fourth down.
The ruling on the field is confirmed. The receiver had control of the ball and 2 feet in bounds before going out of bounds. Pittsburgh is charged with their first time out of the half. The clock will start on the snap.
My bad, partner. I thought at first glance,
well,
it wasn't.
It was easy to assume that ball was going to bobble at some time. I told you had strong hands. Watch this. Right when at contact, Burns gets his hand in there. There's 1, 2. and that ball never moved. He was fighting to get it out 8 yards out of bounds, and he never got it out of there.
Play by Conley. That's his 6th catch. This is the 15th play of this drive. First down and goal from the 7-yard line. And Smith swings it to the 3-yard line. Travis Kelce. Ultimate, as we said before, small ball drive here. Bits and pieces and all that. This will be play number 16. Play number 16 on the drive.
Yeah, and I think this is what the Chiefs thought they were going to get all night out of Pittsburgh. Just sort of play back, not take any chances, play zones. Instead, the Steelers attacked from the first play.
And on a 2nd and goal, Smith throws, and that's off the hands of Kelce in the end zone. 3rd down and goal.
Well, you know it's a rough night if you're a Chiefs fan when that guy drops one. Perfectly thrown ball right where you'd want it. Just couldn't get that other hand out there in time.
This drive started back at their own 17-yard line. Chiefs trying to get off the schneid. 3rd and goal. And Smith will fire, and that one is incomplete. That was Artie Burns. Pretty nice little series for him. And makes it 4th and goal.
Now this is one of those moments that nobody's going to remember it. But inside that huddle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and obviously the Chiefs and Andy Reid doing the right thing, going for the touchdown here. But now is when you start thinking about this shutout.
Sure.
And it means a lot to Keith Butler in this defense.
Especially after last week.
Yep.
Fourth and goal, and that is dropped. Ross Travis, first time they targeted the number 3 tight end on the depth chart. And so they start the drive at their own 17-yard line. They run the ball once and they pass it 17 times and come up with a goose egg.
Well, just throw it a little back shoulder there, nice and easy, and they just can't catch it. It's just every once in a while you're playing a football game and just not going to happen. We played New England one time. We were getting beat so badly. You know the song Mony Mony? That's what they Mony Mony, right? You know that whole thing?
You want to sing it?
No, I don't, because you got in a lot of trouble for that last week.
Yeah, but I loved it.
YouTube sensation that you were. But everybody, we got on the bus after that game. It was like 50-something to nothing. We're all singing Mony Mony. It was all just drilled in our brain by that point.
From the 3-yard line, Le'Veon Bell up to the 6th. End of 3 in Pitt. 36-0 Steelers, and Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. Wrapping up the 4th week, the 4th Sunday of the NFL season. 36-0 Pittsburgh. They led 22-0 at the end of the first quarter. And they give the ball to Mr. Bell, who gets to the 6-yard line. 3rd down. Standings right now in the AFC West. Denver winning again today at Tampa. Oakland came from behind after they'd blown a big lead against Baltimore. KC on their way to going to 2-2, and San Diego blew another one. This one to New Orleans, and they are 1-3. Baltimore now 3-1. Pittsburgh would be tied with them for the top spot. Cincy at 2-2, and nothing goes right for Cleveland these days. Except basketball and baseball.
I think that'll last them for a little while.
It will, for sure. 3rd and 7. Coates. And he gets surrounded by half the defense, which will make it 4th down.
Yeah. For Ben Roethlisberger, what a night it's been, and he kind of had a heavy heart coming in here. Terry Hepner, who was his college coach, who died of cancer, and he was always so close with the family, and then this week Terry's daughter, Allison, who had overcome breast cancer, died in an automobile accident. He went back for the funeral just the other day, and you could tell it was a tough week for him, but certainly didn't show out here in this one.
Jordan Berry sends one into the night sky that bounds out of bounds into the Chiefs bench at just about midfield. Early in the fourth quarter, the Steelers leading 36-0. The great Vince Scully, undoubtedly the greatest baseball broadcaster of all time, retired today. Vinny was also pretty good at football. Remember this one?
3rd and 3. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. Caught it! Dwight Clark! It's a madhouse at Candlestick.
And that was the last time that Vinny called football that many years ago. And today he wrapped up a 67-year career as the voice of the Dodgers. And that pass is incomplete. And all I can say, Chris, is I've been listening to Vince Scully my entire life. I grew up in Brooklyn. We moved to L.A. I mean, he's amazing. He's just a freak of nature. He sounded every bit as good today as he did 50 years ago. And he's irreplaceable. There's no question about that.
One of the great tributes to him was the way that the two of you, Bob Costas and yourself, you were sitting there watching the final few innings, and you could just see the emotion even on your face as he was going through that final inning and what it meant to you.
Yeah, he was so much a part of the lives of so many people. Smith throws over the middle, and that's caught at the 30-yard line by Albert Wilson. And, I had to bring it up on Slingbox, and Bob and I went out back, and we just had to hear Vinny, call his last half inning today. There he was with Jim Brown and George Allen.
It is amazing how, especially in baseball, it's such a conversation with the audience. And there's so many people. You were with the Reds, and we all remember you back in Cincinnati. But you become a part of people's lives in the summertime, picnics, and all that goes with it.
Well, sure, you become part of the family. Is getting away as Kelsey. It's like Marty Brennaman, my successor in Cincinnati. And Marty's had a Hall of Fame career over 4 decades now.
Sure did. Tom's not doing too badly either.
Yes,
so
correct.
But it is, every once in a while there are announcers that sort of touch your soul a little bit, and Ben probably would be pretty close to the top of that list.
Oh yeah, I think that's without argument. And it's incomplete. Pass is dropped right there by Tyreek Hill. By the way, do you know anybody who's had a 67-year career at the top of anything? Of anything? I can think of one guy, Don Rickles.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Don Rickles is one of the old. I know you have dinner with him and you love him, right?
Of course.
But when people come up to him in restaurants, they're looking to be insulted, aren't they?
Absolutely.
They're dying, and he probably just looks at them and then every once in a while gives them the little zinger.
Absolutely. 3rd and 1. Into the 16-yard line goes Spencer Ware. So only drama for Kansas City here tonight is whether they get a point. Another guy who called it quits today, our friend Dick Enberg. For so many years, Dick, there he was with Merlin Olsen. He was an NBC guy for football for so many years. Dick did 8 Super Bowls. He did a World Series for NBC. And over the past few years has been the television voice of the San Diego Padres. And so Dick today called it a broadcasting career.
How about college basketball?
Right.
Boy, they had a team doing college basketball that was really fun to watch as well.
Al McGuire and Billy Packer through the years, and Dick got to do so many of the great UCLA teams with John Wooden. So a couple of the all-time greats.
Don't you even think about it.
Somebody's going to shove it out. And that's juggled, caught, and getting into the end zone.
What a play.
Is Tyreek Hill for the touchdown.
That was awesome. That's what we've seen out of Tyreek Hill on several occasions. Here we go. Watch him. He's going to get hit. Looks like he's going to be stopped. Nope. Bobble it, catch it. Got hit by Mike Mitchell and still found a way to get in the end zone.
And so the Kansas City Chiefs, it took them almost 50 minutes, but into the end zone goes the rookie. Started his college career at Oklahoma State and didn't last long there, and on to West Alabama. Santos for the point after. Push, when you think of West Alabama, who do you think of that?
Some little cornerback from the New England Patriots who stole one from the Seattle Seahawks. Malcolm Butler.
Bound through the end zone, enabling me to tell you Sunday Night Football being brought to you by Chevrolet, the most awarded car company 2 years in a row. By Sprint, call 800-SPRINT-1 or sprint.com. And by new Synergy gasoline from Exxon and Mobil with 7 key ingredients. Late Arnold Palmer, one of many sports icons, celebrated at the Western Pennsylvania Sports Museum at the Heinz History Center. Well, it's history in all the sports in this town.
Yes, they do. Oof. Boy, do they love the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They do. Steeler greats. Stanley Cup, of course, you get Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux. Baseball, Roberto Clemente is the first that comes to mind. Arnold Palmer. First down from the 25-yard line. Well, Ben's going to add to his statistics, or try to anyway, and the pass is incomplete. Second down.
I was asking Mike Tomlin about his left tackle, Alejandro Villanueva. Of course, such a great story, an Army Ranger. And, you know, Tomlin goes right to football. He said, oh, he's an acceptable NFL tackle, a lot of room to grow. Physical talents are legitimate. Then he just kept going. He said, given time, this guy's going to master anything you put in front of him. He's already in grad school at Carnegie Mellon, 3 tours in Afghanistan as a Ranger. He said, I'm telling you, this guy has presidential qualities. I'd vote for him. That is about as strong a statement as I've ever heard about a player from his coach.
People would like to see him running. Gain of 5 right there by Le'Veon Bell. It'll be third down. That's a guy who could run for office.
Oh, he's
Mike Tomlin.
He can put some words together, can he?
Oh, it's beautiful. I love it.
He could do this in a heartbeat.
And he says them so differently. I mean, his phraseology is fantastic. There's no cliche involved.
Yeah. Very clever guy. But when he drops the hammer on his team like he did this week, they respond too. What was he, like 32, 33 years old when he interviewed for this job? I was talking to Brad Childress, who was working with him, the head coach at Minnesota, when he got this job. He said the Rooney family called him and wanted to know the truth. Well, here we go.
He was 35 when he got the job here. Sammy Coates picks up a first down there, and that's going to put Ben at the 296 mark. So 4 shy of another 300 night.
There goes a big 6'9", 320-pound Army Ranger. Used to jump out of airplanes, doing a pretty good job on Tamba Hali there. This is a guy that used to play wide receiver. When he was at Army, he was a wide receiver and a good one. He had 34 catches, 522 yards, and 5 touchdowns, all in his senior year. I've never seen a tackle go to wide receiver and back to tackle again. I've never heard of that one.
Kansas City takes a defensive timeout. Cali, gain of 3 here. I want to be your chief of staff. STAPH.
Not sure at the end of it either you nor I would vote for me, so I understand it. How about Ben Roethlisberger tonight? I know it's been a tough for Chiefs fans, but listen to these numbers. This guy's thrown more touchdown passes tonight than incompletions. 21 for 25, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, 297 yards. How's that?
That might get you player of the week.
That might get you player of the week. I don't think it's any coincidence either that it's the first game back for Le'Veon Bell and all this stuff started happening.
And throws underneath. D'Angelo Williams makes the catch as we go to Michelle.
Well, the injuries stacking up for the Steelers. We told you at halftime about Marcus Gilbert being out, and now Darius Hayward-Bay is out with a shoulder injury. Anthony Chickillo went back to the locker room out with a knee injury, and Jarvis Jones was right behind him out with a left ankle injury. And then we also told you about Niall Davis being in the concussion protocol. So they have stacked up, Al.
Yes, they certainly have, and they don't have a bye next week as Kansas City does. They will meet the New York Jets here at Heinz Field next Sunday. We'll see about Shazier, see about Golden, two starters who were out to begin with tonight. And busting into Kansas City territory inside the 10, taking it to about the 4-yard line goes Le'Veon Bell, and that will give him 139 rushing yards tonight.
All right, how many times in your lifetime have you seen the center outrun a running back? Watch Pouncey go around the edge here, and he's going to catch up to the swerving Le'Veon Bell to get out in front and almost take him into the end zone. What an athlete Maurkice Pouncey is, and welcome back after that leg and ankle surgery, and what a tough year, and now coming back and leading the way again. But Le'Veon Bell, I don't know what you do with him.
Well, it's 44 yards on that run. Give him 140 officially now. Also has 34 receiving yards. And the Steelers are going to take a timeout. So you got the three Bs aligning the stars, Ben and Bell and Brown. Big numbers for all those guys. Get those three ready to go, and that's about as good an offense as you're going to see in the league.
Well, and that's what happens to you. Try and match up with Le'Veon Bell. So they bring him in the game, so you leave your linebackers in there, right? Because you got to stop the run. And then you got linebackers on Le'Veon Bell. Well, that doesn't work. So then you put in your safeties or your nickel guys to cover him in the pass. So they just turn around and hand him the ball, and you can't stop them from running the ball. That's what makes it so impossible to stop this offense when they get all these components in place.
So Williams in there at running back. See if he gets the tote in the end zone. Instead, Ben will throw in a little too high. Intended for Grimble. If Ben gets one more yard through the air, that'll be a 300-yard night for him. And of course, he's already thrown 5 touchdown passes.
Well, and you kind of get the feeling he's just beginning to feel his way through these tight ends too. You know, I mean, he just doesn't have that much with Jesse James or Xavier Grimble or even David Johnson to some extent, and they still might get Ladarius Green back at some point, who was supposed to be the guy to take over for Heath Miller.
Williams, and he will go into the end zone basically untouched. And if you ever had a doubt, you now know it is over.
You are on it.
Well, you got to be on top of something.
There you go. There we go. Let's take a look. Little counter action right there. Villanueva with a great block. And what's more fun as a running back than to go in on a goal line offense and stroll in. David DeCastro coming around with a nice block.
And especially for a guy who'd been a starter so much of last year because of the suspension and injury to Bell, and suspension this year, but she will now take a backup role to Le'Veon Bell now that Bell is back, and he's back as he's proved it tonight in spades with 140 rushing yards.
You know, the other part of this thing is what a job Todd Haley has really done here. You know, because job one was keeping Ben healthy, and he fought it in the beginning. Obviously loved Bruce Arians, Ben Roethlisberger did, but the job that Todd Haley was given was, let's get the ball out of Ben's hands because we'd like him to play till he's 40 years old. And the way he looks tonight, he might play till he's 50.
Extra point by Boswell makes it a 43-7. Pittsburgh Steeler lead. Williams in for the score. Halfway through the fourth quarter, 2 yards into the end zone, the kick is fielded by Hill, and he gets bounced down at the 30-yard line. Back to Heinz Field after this. Got the Allegheny on the left and the Monongahela on the right. And at the confluence there, out of the bottom of your screen would flow the Ohio River. Going through Chris's hometown of Cincinnati, Louisville, on the Delta Queen. Alex Smith sacked back at the 25-yard line. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, an interesting story on the Chiefs offensive line. Their right guard, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, played college football while studying medicine at the prestigious McGill University in Montreal. And he told me it was all about making sacrifices. He said during his last 2 years at McGill, he attended practice just once a week because he had to do hospital rotations. He'd finish work late and then sleep in the locker room so he'd be on time for games, Al.
Love the way you pronounce that name. Michelle, give it to me one more time.
Laurent Duvernay-Tardif.
Perfect.
Or, you know what they call him is Larry. Because he told me, so many of the Chiefs players tried Laurent, but it went so many directions that they finally resorted to Larry.
Did you take French at Cal?
I did a little bit.
I had a feeling. I mean, that just flowed.
You want to hear me do it now?
No. Third and 10 at the 30-yard line. Smith. And throws that one out of bounds. And back we go to Michelle.
Well, back to Larry, as he's known. He's leading somewhat of a double life, NFL lineman and future doctor. Since he's been in the NFL, he's spent every offseason in med school, and he has just 4 months left until he's finished. Now, should the Chiefs go deep into the playoffs, he told me he would postpone those last 4 months until 2018. And Al, he said he'd love to add MD to the back of that jersey. I'm not sure it would fit, but he'd like that.
Imagine looking up from the table and a 6'5", 320-pound surgeon is ready to go to work on you.
Yes, sir. He's done some work with concussions as well, so maybe his experience, maybe we'll find something that helps with that field as well.
Fair catch by Antonio Brown, and back we go to Michelle.
Well, there's some interesting memes floating around the internet after week 4. How about this? Rex and Rob Ryan pedal their way to a shutout in Foxborough. And healthy and ready. By midnight tonight, Tom Brady is eligible to come back just in the nick of time. And this is when you realize Julio Jones is on your fantasy team. 300 yards receiving. Matt Ryan, a pretty good night, too. Over 500 yards passing, Al. Those are your memes.
Well, the Falcons routing the Panthers. All of a sudden, the Panthers have some problems. Denver, a team people thought would, have trouble this year, 4-0, even though they lost Trevor Siemian that he had to come out of the game, but Paxton Lynch came in. Meanwhile, Landry Jones now comes into the game here. Jones saw some extensive action last year when Roethlisberger missed 4 games. In fact, he started 1 game against Kansas City last year. They lost it 23-13. So Landry Jones, 4th year out of Oklahoma, the backup, and Todd Haley will signal in the plays or call them in.
Well, if we're going to memes, I'm going to do one I want to do too. Todd Haley has a daughter who never really was much of a football fan. She watched a little bit because dad's profession. She is in the 10 and 11-year-old league, and Ella is playing against the boys. There she is, and Todd calls her Eller Beast, and she's the only girl on that team, and he's very proud of her, and she's done some great stuff.
Beautiful. As Williams works his way to the outside, and he stopped about 3 yards short of the first down.
It's just hard to find a major glaring hole right now on this offensive team. You get the feeling that defensively, maybe the first few games they were sort of saying, you know, our offense is so good that we can be a little conservative on defense. Don't give up the big plays because our guys are going to put 30, 35 points on the board. And then tonight they sort of flipped that on its ear defensively and started attacking. And you end up with this score, 43-7. And you wonder just how good this team might be.
And there's a bobbled snap. And it's 4th down. That was Chris Hubbard that actually went in at center. So in a route here, Pouncey is out of the game, and that's one of the reasons you had the errant snap. Yeah, well, you saw it right there with your own eyes.
I've seen it before where the center thinks that the quarterback is under center, and, you know, the Steelers have just been terrible tonight.
But fumbles come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
By Berry is into the Kansas City bench at around the 35 or so yard line, even farther up, making the 38-yard line. So let's take a look around the National Football League, Week 4. Ryan and Jones, just alluded to by Michelle, 500 passing yards, 300 receiving yards. Buffalo shocking New England 16-0. Patriots have not been shut out at home since '93. Brady comes back, as you know, next week. The undefeated teams are Denver, Philly, and Minnesota, and the only winless team not far from here, Cleveland.
You know who the MVP of the league is right now? Take a guess.
Let me think. Smith throws to the outside here. Well, I mean, Ryan is in the neighborhood, right?
That's who I was going to say. He was player of the month in September and came back and put up 500 and this one and 300 of them to Julio Jones. And I don't know how the player of the month couldn't be considered the MVP after that was his next game following winning that award.
2nd down and 8. And bursting through the middle goes Spencer Ware, and Spencer Ware will get taken down from behind at about the 15-yard line as Vince Williams chases him down after a big gain of 46 yards to the 14-yard line.
Don't let me ever say Vince Williams lacks speed again. Watch him go get this guy. You've got Spencer Ware, who's a legitimate player, and it is going to be Vince Williams, the only one back there, and he caught him.
Now, when did you say that Vince Williams lacks speed? Did you say that?
I sort of referred earlier in coverage that maybe it wasn't the perfect matchup, right? So I thought I'd suck up a little bit.
I got to go back and look at the tape. So Ware had that fumble early on, 3 in 2 games, and now he's got it high and tight.
Yeah, we need Michelle to bring that whistle football back again. That's exactly perfect form there.
And Williams able to get him from behind. Clock ticking down to the 2-minute warning. And 2nd and 9. Here's a flag for interference. Arms around Chris Conley. And that's going to take us to the 2-minute warning after we get the call from Ron Torbert.
Before the pass was thrown, illegal contact, defense, number 25. 5-yard penalty, automatic 1st down. This is a 2-minute warning.
It is. Off and on rain tonight, but the Steelers reign at home. So 158. Smith hands the ball off on a draw, and Ware takes the ball to the 5-yard line. Most games with 5 or more TD passes. Drew Brees, who had another comeback win for the Saints today at San Diego. Peyton Manning had 9. Marino 6. That's a pretty good list right there.
Remember when Ben had back-to-back 6 touchdown games? We did one of those.
We did one of them, yeah. Where it gets banged down right there. 3rd and goal. We did one of Manning's 7 touchdown games, as you recall.
Yep. Vince Williams making another tackle out there, and it's just a comfortable night. You know, all the what ifs about this team coming in. Oh, what would they look like on defense? And their 2 signal callers are gone, and Le'Veon Bell. And how long is it going to take him to get reincorporated? Get rid of all those things.
And now it's the Kansas City fan base that goes, "What happened? What happened?" So Tomlin takes his team and keeps them right here. Take on the Jets. Then they go to Miami. Then they have New England coming in here. That's a big game, obviously, on October the 23rd. The Chiefs will have a week off, regroup. And Andy's group will go to Oakland on the 16th of October.
That's no picnic.
No, not these days. 4th and goal.
Terrible towels are out even in this game.
Now they take a timeout. They didn't know how to line up. They had too many guys in the backfield.
Kansas City. This is a 30-second timeout.
Speaking of Saturday night live, did you see any of that last night?
I missed it.
Oh, it was good.
What were you doing up at that hour?
West Coast time.
All right, gotcha. 4th and goal. And Smith will fire into the end zone, and that's going to be caught for a touchdown by Travis Kelce. So the Kansas City Chiefs with 2 late touchdowns to at least put something on the board.
There we go. Just going to work down to the back of the end line. James Harrison drops underneath it. But Alex Smith looked right, and Harrison moved just a bit. And Smith was able to sneak it in. And everybody on the defense is going to be mad that that touchdown happened.
Santos to attempt the conversion here. 4 seconds remaining, and that makes it 43-14. The Steelers, you know, you look at their whole schedule, they never leave the Eastern time zone. Never. There it is. There's their whole schedule being played out for you. Even Indianapolis, which used to be once in a, would go to Standard or whatever for a while, even they're on Eastern now full time.
Well,
how do we get that schedule? Not that schedule, but you know
you
what I'm saying.
want that one.
No, I don't want that schedule.
I definitely don't want that one. Oh, Ben, he wrecked this defense from Kansas City there tonight. This Chiefs defense had not allowed more than 27 points in a game since week 4 of last year, just 2 days short of a full year. And they had, what, 29 at halftime in here. Came out opening on camera. I'm telling you what a great defense this is. And over the past 3 years under Andy Reid and Bob Sutton, that they were second in points allowed only to Seattle, and they got Big Ben tonight.
Same guy told me Vince Williams had no speed. Yeah. What was I listening to?
So who you voting for?
Matt Ryan.
There you go.
I may vote for Villanueva after Tomlin talked about it.
Yeah, I was fired up about him too.
Yeah. So one more kneel down, and they and we can begin to think about the Green Bay Giant matchup.
a great guy. And Greg Lloyd were down there reminiscing a bit about meeting at the quarterback occasionally.
Congratulations to Melissa Horton up here in the booth tonight, our illustrious stage manager. We almost had to put her on PUP, but
yeah, she sucked it up
to be active for the entire game. And that's going to wrap it up from High.